All right, we're here in Canastota, New York at the International Boxing Hall of Fame with former WBA lightweight champ Ray Boom Mancini. Ray, first of all, welcome back to Canastota. It's been about 14 years or so,
I didn't realize it was that long. I knew it was a while, but yeah, that's too long.
Now, you're here promoting The Good Son, the documentary that's coming out, also based on the book by Mark Kriegel.
Correct.
Tell me how that project came about with Mark. Did you know Mark beforehand?
Mark had interviewed me in 2000 for an article with the Daily News. He was with the Daily News at that time. But we only spoke on the phone. I didn't get a chance to meet him. And then when ESPN was doing on the 25th anniversary, ESPN did a piece, and they told me, "Hey, Kriegel's out here." So I'm like, "He is." I never had a chance to meet him. Love to meet him. So gave me his number. We got in touch. He had just moved out there less than a year. Called him. We had lunch, and invited Ed O'Neill, and the three of us drank and ate. And wonderful time. And he said it was the first time he felt he was back at home. And since then, we became good friends, and him and Ed are good friends. And that's how it came
fellow
about.
Youngstowner.
So, right. Well,
Ed O'Neill, I mean.
Yeah, Ed O'Neill, of course.
Yeah.
So we had done that for a couple months, and then finally one day he said to me, "Look, can we have dinner together?" I said, "Sure." So I met him, and he said, "Look, I owe Simon & Schuster one more." He said, "I'd like to do it on you." I said, "Man, Mark, I'm honored. I'm flattered. Because I know what type of writer it was. I know he's the it guy. Everyone thought he's the it guy." I said, "But Mark, I got to tell you, no false modesty. What can you write that has been written already? What can you say that hasn't been told?" He said, No. I said, it's not a boxing story. It's a story between fathers and sons. You and your father, you and your children, your father with his father, when he came from Sicily, and me and my father." He says, "I became a writer for him because he was an English professor." I said, "That I buy into, that I believe." And so then immediately said right after, I said, "But look, I can't pay you nothing, and you're going to have no say-so on what I write. And I'm going to go to every dark place you don't want to go, the death of your brother, the death of Kim, your divorce." He said, "But if you want the best story written about fathers and sons, I'm your guy." I said, "Okay." And I trusted him, and obviously it came out wonderful, and I'm very proud of it. Very proud of it. I couldn't get no better. And the same thing with the documentary. I tell people, you're going to have no answers to questions after this. You're going to pretty much know everything. It's out there. So the documentary is based on it. Jesse James Miller did a great job. I'm so proud of this film. And now if people have any questions, they say, "Man, did you read the book? Watch the film?" Just read the book and watch the film, and it'll pretty much answer everything.
So you kind of actually already touched on my next question, which was kind of a comparison with Heart of a Champion that came out in '85, quite a few years ago, and I was going to ask you, how do you feel this differed, in what way?
That's a TV movie that was brought winning the title.
Okay.
And I was proud of that, very proud of that. But it's different. This is pretty much just much harder. Goes much deeper. This film into a lot of things, and actually talk to people who are, See, I'm a big fan of advocate of documentaries. I'm a big fan of documentaries because I'm a firm believer that fact is always stranger than fiction. So if you got a subject matter that's interesting, I'd rather see the real deal as opposed to a movie based on it. And but that was part of that movie at that time of my life. Who would think? I was 24 and I had a movie of my life coming out. I mean, that was crazy. But this is a little different, a little more entailed, and there's many more layers.
Yeah. Now, we're here in the Madison Square Garden ring, as Ed mentioned earlier, and you talked with the fans about the 30th anniversary is coming up in September of your fight in this ring, the only time you fought in this ring with Orlando Romero of Peru. It just so happens that the WBA convention, who you were the champion of, is in Lima, Peru this year in October. I spoke with Gilberto Jesus Mendoza just 2 days ago about that anniversary coming up. Orlando Romero lives in Lima, and that is happening from October 14th to the 20th, just 1 month after the 30th anniversary of your fight. Gilberto Jesus Mendoza asked me on behalf of the WBA to officially invite you to that convention and reunite with Orlando Romero, watch the fight, and you're officially invited, and he hopes that you'll accept the invitation if you can clear your schedule for a few days.
If you could do that, I would love to do that. I would love to be able to do it. I mean, I'll find out my schedule. I mean, I'll try to make my schedule permit. We'll see.
Right.
I'll be honored.
You remember when his dad was actually going to college in Toledo, and he said you were great friends with his dad, who then 1 year later became the president, Gilberto Mendoza Sr.
Wow. Yes, I remember that's right. When he was telling me about that. Who would have thought it had been Toledo? You would have thought that.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. That's one of them.
Now, what do you remember about that fight? That fight was neck and neck until you knocked him
absolutely.
out. Tied on one judge's scorecard, and you were ahead by 1 and 2 points on the other. Exactly.
I knew it was a very close fight. Don't get me wrong. But what I remember about the fight, first is that I didn't realize how strong he was. But I never took anybody for granted. Never, because I knew my style of fighting, I couldn't afford to take people for granted. I was always gonna have a tough fight, because I'm coming forward. But I remember when he stood there, and I really, a few times in the clinches, he pushed me around. I said, "This guy's how strong he was." And I was very surprised how not surprised because I saw the tapes, but when you're in there, very slick, and slippery. It was hard to catch him with things, solid. So that's why just concentrate on the body. See, when you fight a southpaw, look, you got to be pressure fighter. If you don't pressure a southpaw, you're in for a long night. You ain't gonna beat a southpaw. You got to pressure a southpaw. But it's a very disciplined fight, and I trained for that because I knew what I was up against. But when we were in the clinches, I realized how strong he was. And then, like I said, how slippery. He was making me miss a lot of punches. He was countering me pretty good. In the middle rounds, I was picking up the pace, and I was getting to him more. I was banging them body shots, and I was hearing him grunting a little bit, so I knew I was getting to him with the body shots. But if you watch the final punch, he caught me with a couple straight shots. I threw a punch, he slipped it. I threw a punch, I slipped it, and then I came up with the left hook and just happened to catch him.
The rest is history.
I'll never forget after that fight. One of the best single punch I ever threw, obviously. But he was asked after the fight. He kept saying that, he said, yeah, he was lucky. He was lucky. I said, man, I hope I'm always that lucky.
Yeah.
But look, it could have been lucky. That's fine. I'll take it. Because he was a difficult guy, and I knew it was close. But I just started to take over. But remember the 8th round. At the end of the round, 8th round, I come back with a cut.
Yeah.
We were banging heads. I don't think it was a punch. It might have been, but we were banging heads a lot in there. And come back to cut, and it didn't look good. And that's why Paul Burstfield, my cut man, was working on it feverishly. And Griff said, man, come on, we got to go out there and pick up the pace. And I just happened to catch him. Who knows what would happen?
Right. Now, if I remember correctly, in your post-fight interview after that fight, you had fought always the best, the number 1 contender almost every time.
Yeah.
And you said, if I remember, you said, where do they get these guys from?
Yeah. I mean,
he was undefeated.
He was undefeated. People say, whether the top contender, number 1 contender, who knows? They got there some way, somehow.
Right.
All my job is to fight guys they put there, and I'm very proud of my 5 title defenses. I've fought 4 number 1 contenders.
Right.
4, mandatory, and then that
doesn't happen nowadays.
No. Well, I don't think the records mean anything. I don't think the ratings mean anything because there's so many fights. There's so many organizations, I should say. Well, okay, here's a guy giving title belts, throw him in the trash, put him in, guys who did that. It's a lack of respect to the sport to help them get there and allow them to live a certain lifestyle, get a certain amount of economic help.
Right.
And yet to throw it away and try. That's disrespect to the sport and it's disrespect to fighters around who would work so hard to get something like that.
Now, you talk about respect, and you mentioned earlier when you were talking to the audience about, being respectful to your opponent. And nowadays, more so even than when you were fighting, there's so much trash talking, whether it's to build up the fight or it's the way these fighters' personalities are. You really, I remember, you always conducted yourself as a gentleman and never showed any disrespect to your opponents. And you encountered that a bit, probably the most with Bramble. But today, when you see guys like David Hay having a cartoon of himself holding the Klitschko's head severed, and then you see guys like Adrian Broner. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, this is disrespectful to the sport, but they come off looking like goofballs. I mean, they come like jerk-offs. Really, they do. There's nothing new that hasn't been done already. See, Ali was an originator. He was the original.
Right.
Gorgeous George back there was an originator. There's nothing original about these guys anymore. Broner, though he could fight, good fighter. He's Mayweather light. You got Bud and Bud Light.
Yeah.
He's Mayweather light.
Right.
Become your own persona, man. Get your own persona. That's all. That worked for Floyd. It don't work for you. You comes off. Floyd, I get a kick out of it. This kid, it's like, come on, man, stop. It's like a bad TV sitcom. Get your own personality. Hey, who was David Hay? I couldn't even tell if he walked in this room who he is. So what does that mean? You know what I mean? That's the problem with I couldn't tell you after fighters. And if you got to get recognition and notoriety by saying stupid stuff and doing stupid stuff, ain't much of a fighter then, are you? You know, I would like to think that my fighting is no much more than much more than who than saying something stupid or doing something stupid. You would think people would, when you hear the name, oh, he's like a fighter. Oh, so and so. Oh, what a jerk! He says some stupid stuff. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just the game is so backwards now. People think they have to try to become promoters. No, we got promoters. Let them do their job. Just do the fighting.
Well, Ray, you're always a credit to the sport, a gentleman in and out of the ring, and we hope to see you in about a couple of months down in Peru.
I keep telling that I want to come back. I love the place. So it's wonderful what they've done for fighters, and I hope to make it to one of these inductions eventually. I mean,
your own, perhaps.
You know, and I'm very proud of the guys. A lot of guys I fought that are in here. A couple guys I beat, a couple guys that didn't, but they're in here, and that's just to be in the ring with great fighters like is an ultimate.
All right. Well, we hope to see you in Peru at the WBA convention. See what you can do about making it down there.
Do that. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your time, Ray.
Thank you.